Well, I guess with the schedule release, we kind of started there. Are you pleased with how that kind of came together? And a lot of road trips coming up in November, I guess, to start the season.
Nick, you look good, by the way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
And
Check in the mail.
have you recovered from the 3 a.m. Bedtime the other
Today's
night?
the first day I've kind of felt normal.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
good. Actually stayed up and watched the whole thing and was surprised Emily was still there. Yeah, I like our schedule given the constraints that we have. And I think any mid-major coach would tell you how hard it is to schedule nowadays. If you look around any of most of the P5 or however you want to brand that, the SEC, the Big Ten, even the Big East in basketball, who am I missing? The Big 12 and ACC. There's a new template. They play their conference games. Anyone that has a net ranking of, I don't know, 75 to 150, you're in no man's land. Like they're not scheduling you because you could be a quad 2 or a quad 3, and a lot of consequences to your net ranking depending on the result of that game. And even if the result is a win and it's only by 8 points, it might be less beneficial than beating a net ranked team 250 by 27 points. And that's just the reality of how scheduling is kind of matriculated since people have creatively found ways to manipulate the net ranking. So it takes two to tango when you're scheduling. And I looked at Bill's notes from last year. I think it was January 28th or 29th of 2019 when we lost to Lipscomb. Since then, we've lost 8 games at home. So there's not a lot of people signing up for a group that's been performing well at home. So we have some constraints that made scheduling as hard as it's been in years. But that being said, I love our neutral games. Valpo is going to be really good. They've got their best players back, and in a league that saw I think every team in the Missouri Valley except Valpo lost their leading returning scorers 2 and 3 deep. So it speaks to what Coach Powell and his staff are doing there. Obviously, the games with Florida Atlantic and Charleston, both NCAA tournament teams will be a challenge, and then the Paradise Jam. And then in Seattle U, that'll be a really tough test. They've actually, I think they won the CBI last year and won something like 27 games. So that he does a terrific job. That another stiff challenge, and UTA coming here will be really good. And not to say the others won't be, but Nick, it was a non-conference schedule that was really difficult to put together. But I'm pleased because I think it'll prepare us well for Conference USA.
Is part of the solution in that you talk about the schools in no man's land, right? The net rank. Is there any talk amongst them to try to do some home and homes, play each other? Or has there been any kind of that, or have there been other constraints with maybe geography, or just can you speak to that?
Yeah, no, that's fair. You're always in conversations about scheduling, and it's why we did the Field of 68 series, because those are 2 perennially really good mid-major programs. One went to the Final Four, and but the negative to that is they're essentially home and homes. They're just done in a 3-year gap. So we on the road and neutral, and next year when we have FAU and Charleston coming back to our place, it'll be a much more favorable schedule from a fan standpoint. But sometimes it's better, it's more fiscally responsible to play a non-one than to buy a game now, because if you're buying games of teams that are net 250 and above, you're paying $80, $90, $100,000, and we're not doing that.
What can you give us on this team? A lot of new faces. How do you think that? I know you guys have been here since June, but what have you seen from them? Early on.
Actually, this is our 10th year here, so
You're what?
been here a little bit longer than June. No, I love our group, Em. They're a fabulous collection of people. I'm telling you, like, this group is really fun to coach. The challenge for us is the integration of all the new guys. I think it's 7 that can play this year. Obviously, Josh Smith will be with us, but out for the year. So yeah, I think they're a group that really wants to please. Very, very coachable. If you watched us play last year, it's evident that we didn't look maybe like some of the teams we played against from a size and a length and even an athletic standpoint. I think we've addressed that, and I think hopefully it'll bode well if we can remain in what's been a strength of ours, and that's our connection.
What kind of challenge has that been for you as a coach, like thinking about playing time, and what are you looking for specifically leading up to this season in terms of who you're giving playing time to?
Yeah, well, they all have an opportunity, right? Like I think that's been evident in the historical teams that have gone through that locker room of ours, and there's a hope and an expectation that some of the guys who didn't play as much, they've improved. They have an opportunity to garner a more impactful role in terms of their minutes or how they add value to our team, and then again, it's how they complement with the new guys. I think what's interesting about our group so far in our practice is we have a chance to be a lot more versatile. Like we can be big, we can play small ball, we can throw it in the post, and we didn't have much of a post presence on either end last year. No disrespect to the guys that were here. That's the way I chose to construct our group. So, but I like our versatility. I think it'll be a strength of ours.
What do you see from the guys who have come back from last year, specifically maybe like Zach Cleveland and Katie McKay we just saw? Are they more hungry? Obviously, there's more minutes, like you said, that are going to be floating around. Are they more hungry to grab those? What's the conversation?
Yeah, all the players want to grab the minutes like that, right? But yeah, I think their improvement lies in just their day-to-day commitment. And I heard at the end of their press conference, I thought it was neat what Zach said about just being a little bit more comfortable in their own skin and having maybe a little more deeply rooted faith. I think gives you a chance to operate in a little freedom, and you're not maybe so attached to what other people think about you or your performance, and that's healthy for all of us in whatever realm that we're in. I just think so. I feel like their improvement has been significant on the court, but off the court as well.
Are those the two guys you're looking to fill the shoes of Kyle Road in terms of leadership?
Yeah, hard to fill those shoes, right? Like I talked to him this morning, and it's always good to connect with him. But every team that you have is different from year to year. So the dynamics of this group it's different than last year. So I think we have more of a collaborative effort in our leadership, and there are a few individuals that maybe stand out or speak a little bit more frequently than others. But I like the way the group is forming.
With the newcomers, is there a chance for some of those guys to be leaders as well? I mean, that can be hard sometimes coming in, fresh into a program, but do you see some of those characteristics in some of the guys you brought in?
Yeah, no doubt. Like Isaiah Enan is 23 and he's over himself, so I think he's got a great voice in that room. And then Talon Peter and Javon Moffmer, although they you'll love interviewing Talon Peter if he doesn't give you the media presentation. They both have some maturity and some depth, and they've been in college for this being their 5th year. Both were Division II players of their league, and I think their voices are great. Josh Smith is an absolute stud. That dude is a phenomenal leader. So all of them have that. The freshmen are the freshmen; they're still filling their way out, but all of our transfers certainly have that. Owen Aquino's a little more. He's a little bit more quiet. But boy, he's a presence out there.
Where is this team in terms of on schedule, ahead of schedule, behind schedule, in terms of players understanding their roles given the new pieces?
I don't know yet. Like yesterday, I mean, I know you guys are here because it's arguably whatever day one, but like it's really practice, I don't know, 15 or 16 for us since school started again. So I see that changing. Really, Eddie, it just depends on who's out there with one another. And again, having a little bit more depth and a little bit more size has afforded us more versatility. So I think it's still evolving. I'm not sure the schedule. Hard to tell until you play someone else. You know, we play against each other every day. So when we scrimmage Virginia Tech mid-October and JMU late October, I think I'd be able to better answer that question.
Changes in your coaching staff here this year too, with Rob leaving, and then I guess promotion in there for Zach. Is that right? I don't know. Can you kind of speak to your staff?
Yeah, happy for Rob Jones, by the way. I wanted to go to his press conference in Ohio, but I had a conflict in schedule. But though he was here for such a short duration, his impact was felt amongst us all. And we actually, although the aforementioned Zach, Steve, some of those guys will have greater responsibilities. Really, the only significant changes we added Larry Mangino, who was at UVA, and he's the father of Chelsea Mangino, who's been with us for a long time. So got a little family affair going on, and I love our staff. I think being able to have continuity is really important. I think it helps build your program and and grow it. But also I want our guys to be guys that have a chance to go and plant some churches elsewhere. So I'm never too disenchanted when we have a staff change, because I think that's God moving them into another level of authority and influence.
You mentioned those two scrimmages. They going to be on LFSN with Emily on the call?
I've actually never worked for LFSN. Why?
No, they're closed scrimmages. Yeah.
What do you think is the solution for the Chinese lantern fly? I think that's the first time I genuinely made you laugh.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Yeah.
You're 5, baby.
Yeah. Is this your 5th year?
Yes.
Wow. Seems like 20. I mean.
With this being your second season in Conference USA, what are your main goals for this season? Where would you like to improve upon?
Anna, was it?
Yes.
Okay, great. The older you get, it seems like the less you remember. So I'm actually happy that I remembered Anna. You know, I'm not a goal type individual when it comes to numbers of wins, where we go in the postseason. It's so subjective. Like, we've had some really good teams here. Hard to measure, but I think the 30-4 team that didn't get a chance to go to the NCAA tournament, although we qualified, like, I would have loved to have seen what that team would have done in the NCAA tournament. And it all depends on your draw, right? Like, so yeah, this team is capable of much. Like, it's easy for me to see that, to feel that, just being around them. But Louisiana Tech, Western Kentucky, Middle Tennessee, like, all those teams are returning a ton. And then there's some others that I think will have much better seasons than they've had last year. So it's all relative based on, who's playing well. We started out 0-3 in the league last year and could never seem to get our head above water. I think we've got to 5-5 and then lost 3 of our last 4. So that's why I try and stay away from a number of wins. Like, ultimately, what do we want to do? We want to be in the NCAA tournament. Like, that's been our program's expectation now. And anything short of that, like, seems like it's a disappointment. And we've caused that. That's a good thing. So we embrace it, all that. But we don't want to be identified by it. Again, like, last year we were 18-14, and feels like, oh man, it's first time we haven't won this many games or that. We had some unbelievable things that occurred in our program last year, and I'm thankful, grateful for that. So I didn't see it as failure. Maybe some others that do, but again, you're never going to meet everyone's expectations. So it's probably why I try and, I have a propensity to stay away from tangible goals. But yeah, of course, we want to run in such a way to win the prize. And for me, that would be participation in the NCAA tournament, because then you have a chance to do something exceedingly and abundantly above we can ask or imagine.
That said, just with the nature of college sports as a whole, right? I mean, rosters turn over just about every year, it feels. Is it harder to kind of get a pulse on some of the other teams in the league and what to expect even from them, or what you're going to be up against? Does it make scouting harder?
Don't know if it's harder, because by the time we get to league, Nick, we've seen the other team 15 times, or last year it was 13. This year it'll be 13 again. So I don't think from a scouting standpoint, I do think the nature of college basketball has made it harder. When you're in recruiting now, you're not just recruiting guys that you think you might have a chance, you're recruiting guys that you think you might have a chance to retain. And so there's a dynamic in that young man's disposition, his background, what's important to him, what's he convicted by. So that's changed recruiting. And then just having guys in your program, I think, man, now all the, like when there's a website that talks about their market value as players, like what are we doing? So I just think it's made, the outside noise is louder than it's ever been, and being able to, make sure you're appropriating the whole person development that you committed to them and that you feel like is honoring to the mission of our university. I think that's the challenge for us, making sure that we keep our priorities in line and have the habits that coincide with hopefully the building and the foundation construction of those priorities.
Or recruiting also to have a chance to retain, or maybe have a chance to see later down the road, right? I mean, the way that it goes now,
Yeah.
you may want to forge that relationship for later in time, right?
Yeah, of course. But that's, anytime you're building authentic relationship, you want that to last. So, yeah, excellent point.